Hello everyone, my name is Megan Ballingy and I am one of the librarians at Heartland Community College Library, and today I have a video for you that is about evaluating information, applying the CRAAP test, which is a set of standards for evaluation criteria for information you find on the internet. So I am going to use an example for a research topic on food insecurity. I'm going to search Google, show you a bunch of different sources that I find, and we're going to use the evaluation criteria to ask questions about that information we find on the internet. All of the links and how to find this PDF and download the PDF of the CRAAP test are going to be linked down below in the description. And I will also have some timestamps in that description as well. So let's get started. Before we start searching on the topic of food insecurity, I would like to talk about this test, or what we sometimes call a test. This basically evaluation criteria was developed by a librarian and a group of colleagues at California State University, Chico, and it's used widely in evaluating sources that you may find on the internet, that you may be looking for in books, articles, etc. And now that we have so many different types of sources that we can find on the internet very easily, sometimes we are finding good information, sometimes we are not. The CRAAP test is a list of questions to help you evaluate the information you find. So depending on what you are searching and what your information needs are, some of these criteria are going to be helpful or more or less important, and that's for you to decide. But let's take a look at some of these criteria before we start searching, just so we're a little bit more familiar with them. To start off, we have currency. This is the timeliness of the information. When it was published or posted, has the information been revised or updated? Does your topic that you are searching for, do you need current information or will older information work? For example, if we're looking at food insecurity, if we find a source that is talking about food insecurity in Illinois in the 1930s, is that going to be the type of information that you need, or will you need more current information, let's say from 2015 to today? And this PDF also has these little boxes, and this is directly asking about information on the internet. So another thing to ask, are the links functional on the website that you are looking at? That can be an indication whether or not it's been updated in a while. Relevance, the importance of the information for your needs. Does the information you're finding relate to your topic, answer your question, or is it only somewhat related? Who is the intended audience? Often that also is part of this next question. Is the information at an appropriate level? So is it not too elementary or advanced for your needs? Are you trying to find general information but only find scientific reports, or the other way around? Have you looked at a variety of sources before determining this is the one you will use? Sometimes we are in a real hurry to find information and we don't take a look at multiple sources. And sometimes that can be an issue if you just pick the first thing that you see. Would you be comfortable citing this source in your research paper? So if you are looking at something and you're finding some information, but you don't know how to make sure that that's accurate, for example, you are searching and you find a Wikipedia article and you think it's the correct information, but you don't want to cite it because you don't think it's that. It's not, you're not able to verify it. Authority. This is the source of the information. Can you figure out who the author is, the publisher, the source, or the sponsor? What are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations? Is the author qualified to write on this topic? When we search on the internet, there are no ways to quickly filter out if an author is qualified to write on a topic. We may find people writing that are writing for large publications, for newspapers, etc., who may have an opinion on a topic, but they may not be qualified to write as an authority on that topic. Is there contact information such as a publisher or email address? Basically, is there a way to request more information or check that source? And does the URL reveal anything about the author or source? You've probably learned about .coms, edus, .govs, etc. When the internet was first starting and for many years after that, it was a lot easier to distinguish if something was a commercial website, if someone was paying for it, or if it was an educational or government resource. Now, the lines are blurred a little bit between those, and a nonprofit could purchase a .com. So we can't just look at the URLs, but they sometimes are a good indication whether the resource could be authoritative. Accuracy, the reliability, truthfulness, and correctness of the content. Where is this information coming from? Is the information supported by evidence? Has the information been reviewed or refereed? And this is a term, refereed, that is referring to peer reviewing. And this may be a concept that you've learned about or you have not learned about yet. Often in college, when you are researching and writing a research paper, your instructor may ask you to find peer-reviewed sources. And those are sources that you can easily find in a library database just by checking a box that says peer-reviewed. And peer-reviewed sources, for example, they are basically the top level of academic information you can find. A good example of this is the American Journal of Medicine. An example would be a doctor is conducting a research study on how yoga can lessen symptoms of anxiety and depression. After they've conducted that research study, they write up their findings into a research paper and they submit it to that journal. At that point, other doctors in that same discipline, other people of authority, will take a look at that research paper and see if it meets standards of their discipline, other people in that peer group, and then they will decide if it will be published. So it's meeting quite a few standards of accuracy and reflecting the basically all of the principles of that discipline. The term refereed means a very similar thing. So that's what that means. Has it been reviewed or refereed by peers or other people that have the knowledge to say, yes, this is accurate? Can you verify any of the information in another source or from personal knowledge? This is a great way of looking at several different sources and seeing if they all have the same information, or if you're finding one source of information that's really an outlier and you can't trust that information to be accurate. Does the language or tone seem unbiased or free of emotion? Are there spelling, grammar, or typographical errors? Purpose. The reason this information exists. What is the purpose of the information? Is it to inform, teach, sell a product, entertain, or persuade someone, maybe to change their viewpoint on a topic? Do the authors or sponsors make their intentions or purpose clear? Is the information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Does the point of view appear objective and impartial? Or are there political, ideological, cultural, religious, institutional, or personal biases? Now, this is a lot of information to think about when you are looking at internet sources, but they're really excellent criteria for trying to figure out if those sources are going to be, for the purpose of this video, something that you could use in a research paper. So I am going to keep this up as we look and Google our topic. All right, so I have my CRAAP test evaluation criteria on the right-hand side, and I am looking at Google, and I just typed in food insecurity and searched. So I have about 50 million, over 50 million search results. We're going to look at the variety of what we see in the all search results. And then we're also going to look through, excuse me, a little bit through the news, images, and videos, and also search using, if we go to settings and advanced search. All right, so food insecurity. As we just scroll, we have some related questions, and then we have listing of websites. So usually the first thing that we are looking at when we're looking through and trying to evaluate, like, is this something that I want to take a look at further, is looking at the title, a little bit about this resource, and then you can also glance at that URL that's above it. What I would tend to do is focus in and take a look at the government sites, and most likely, most of us would probably also be likely to click on something that we were more familiar with. Like for me, health.gov. I would also click on this National Public Radio. But it all depends on what kind of sources we need for a research project. Let's take a look at some of these websites or links, whatever we're finding here, and quickly take a look at the evaluation criteria of the CRAAP test to see if we can answer some questions. So the first one in this list, what is food insecurity in America? Let's click on that. And we know Google uses numerous algorithms to place various links, websites at the first listing, right? Sometimes those are clear and sometimes they are not. Sometimes those are being placed there by the organizations that are paying for those top hits. So that's why we have to be careful with our criteria. So looking at this, website. I see this is, sorry, you can't see the URL. It is feedingamerica.gov, feedingamerica.org. So let's take a look and go through some of these criteria. Currency, the timeliness of the information. Can we figure out when was this posted on this website? Now this is great. As I am scrolling, I am actually seeing sources of this article, and it gives me some information. It does say that it has a 2021 date. It says it's Hunger and Health is a partner site of Feeding America. Maybe we can find out more information about that organization. The relevance. Well, I didn't really make a case for that. I just said I was going to search for food insecurity. But is it at an appropriate level that I could read? And these are all questions that are for you to figure out. Now this does look, I do like that we have some citation information. So we have a statistic we could click on and follow that. They are talking about the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Authority, the source of the information. I talked about that a little bit, where they are getting this information. Accuracy, where does the information come from? Is it supported by evidence? Do we see spelling, grammar, or typographical errors in this? And the purpose, the reason the information exists. So why do we think maybe this information exists? Let me click on Feeding America, and let's see if we can find out more information. I'm going to actually scroll to the bottom. Feeding America. Let's see. So this looks like this site is who published that other site, our work. So this is how we can find out a little bit more. Feeding America Network is the nation's largest domestic hunger relief organization. So they work with individuals, charities, business, and government. It looks like to educate, to feed people. So they are providing this information to educate and also to, I'm assuming, get donations and probably to organize also local food banks, and looks like surplus food. So I'm assuming they're going to be trying to get food, trying to save food from being wasted. Okay. So that's just one source. And of course, I would have to take a look at that a little bit more to actually answer all of those questions. I can't just trust that all of those are correct just because I found that on the site and it looks legitimate. Let's look at, let's see, aamc.org. I don't know what that is, so let's just click on it. So we do have a date. There is a person that's listed here as the staff writer. This looks like something pretty recent. AAMC. What is it? Association of American Medical Colleges. So is this would be the question, is this information something I would trust from this organization? Are they an authority on this information that we are looking for? Let's go back and look at one more site that we can find. americashealthrankings.org. Explore food insecurity in Illinois. United Health Foundation. I'm not familiar with that. We do have a 2021 copyright, but who are they? United Health Group. I'm wondering if United Health Group, I think, is an insurance company. Let's see, United Health Foundation. And this is where we could look into what are their businesses, what are their mission and values, why are they writing this information, what is its purpose, right? Okay, I'm going to go back. So even something like this, oh, sorry, I have to keep moving this a little bit. Even though this looks like it gives us a lot of information, it may be accurate. I don't know. Where is the information coming from? If they are citing a U.S. Department of Agriculture source, I may want to just try to find that instead of trust the information that is here. I would be more likely, if they have information here, more likely to go to that source than to trust something that may be affiliated with a healthcare company, which may be a for-profit. And that's those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. What level of information do we need? What can we trust? What do we want to trust? And if it's relevant to what we are researching. I'm going to go back, and this actually is helpful when you're searching in Google. Of course, you could ask questions, you could put just a phrase in, but the related searches could also be really helpful. I believe food insecurity is a good term to search, but they also have food insecurity versus hunger. Depending on the topic that you're searching, there may be a more recent or maybe an older term that could mean the same thing. That's why you definitely want to do your research and find out, are you searching the proper terms? Like, here's an example, food insecurity synonym. Is there another word for that? Okay, so that's an overview of just looking at some of the first sources that we see. And now let's take a look at the next tab, which is news. So this gives us a much easier to read screen. Instead of how many search results, 50 million, Under the news, we see about 4 million, and it easily shows us the title of the news story and then where it was posted to the organization. So this first one by NPR, National Public Radio. Then we start getting into maybe local news, or maybe not local to the area you're in. You may or may not get that depending on how you have your Google set up. But you may get area news on the topic. So I'm not sure, but Helena, this could be someplace near here, or it could be Helena, Montana. I'm not sure. The Desert Sun, I'm assuming that may also be a local organization. I have no idea what Around the O is, so let's click on that. Okay, and as I'm looking at this looks like it's a local, probably the University of Oregon's campus newspaper. So is this type of information useful for you on the topic of food insecurity? They do have a date that it was posted. Looks like they link to some other topics. This looks like it might be just a news release on a food drive that they're having. So that may be more generalized information and may not be useful depending on what you are searching for. Scrolling down, none of these look familiar. Progressive Grocer. I have no idea what this is. And when you start seeing, okay, I saw a lot of pop-up ads talking about cookies here. I don't want notifications. You're seeing a lot of advertisements. That may be an indication that this might be a good place to be really taking a look at what is this information about. I don't know what Progressive Grocer is. It doesn't have a date at the bottom. And sometimes it may not be worth it to take a look through all of this information if you already start to see some red flags about the type of information. And this is talking about lots of retail stores. I still don't understand. Okay, Progressive Grocer, what it is, about us. So this looks like it might be a trade magazine for grocery stores. I'm not sure. So that, for the purpose of this report, I don't think that's going to be helpful for us. So you can see how all of these sources look very similar. They all talk about food insecurity, but they may or may not be useful for us. Looking at images, we can do the same thing. We can take a look at where these images are from, if we can find dates on them, if we can figure out where they came from. Just grabbing one and taking a look at it, it's the same thing as taking a look at those websites, checking for all the evaluation criteria. Some of these infographics may be useful for overall information on food insecurity, or it might just be really specific to an area. Let's look at this one. So you see Santa Cruz magazine. I'm going to go ahead and click on it and just see where it takes us. So University of Santa Cruz, their publication, and they give a infographic. Okay, so this is an infographic among food insecure undergraduates. So this is just a small portion of the population. So is that relevant? Again, looking at the CRAAP test, is it relevant to what we're looking for? I'm going to close these two. Let's go back. And now let's look at the videos. Same thing. We can look at the titles of the videos, what they contain, the dates, that's very helpful, and also the URLs. And this type of information, it's the same as any other type of information. Is the video made for a certain purpose? Is it to educate? Is it a biased opinion piece? Is it informational in some way? What is the purpose? Okay, so if taking a look at all of those is really difficult because there's quite a bit of information, we can also do some Google advanced searching. So let me end in this last part of the video doing that. So we can go to advanced search. And again, we still have to go through our evaluation criteria when we look at the results, but we can be a little more intentional with the information that we're looking for. We can find, with the same words, food insecurity. I can put in another exact phrase, any words that I want to find. Numbers ranging, I could put in dates. If I only wanted maybe the last year, I can change this to any language, any region. So if I wanted to look at a certain part of the world, and I can also choose just by the site or domain. Of course, this isn't as straightforward as it could, but I could just choose .gov or .edu and see what I find. I can also look at the type of information. If I was just looking for another file type, and then I can do my advanced search as well. So that's one way to narrow down our search results. All right, well, I hope you learned something from this video, taking a little time to look through and evaluate information you find on the internet using the CRAAP test.